Welcome to Friday Friends, RI Elder Info's weekly look at the organizations and individuals providing resources for Rhode Island seniors, caregivers, and professionals.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, July 9th. As you probably know, Elsa is crossing over us right about now. So if by some chance we lose connectivity, we lose our internet, we lose power, any of those fun things that can happen when a tropical storm is going over, I will be rescheduling today's guest, but that's only if we lose power. Because what we're talking about today is so important for so many people that I want to make sure that we get the information out. So for those of you who are maybe just joining me for the first time, this is Friday Friends. We live stream every Friday at 9 a.m. I am Deb Burton, the founder and creator of RI Elder Info and rielderinfo.com. I encourage you to check it out. It is the most comprehensive resource for seniors, caregivers, and professionals who serve them. We are a 501c3. We're located here in Rhode Island. I am a real live person that you can pick up the phone and call or email or text if you have questions or concerns. And what we do is through the generous donations of our sponsors and our donors. So big shout out to Oak Street Health. They're one of our sponsors. They have locations in Warwick over by the Christmas tree shop, by Rhode Island directions. 2 places in Providence, one by the old St. Joe's Hospital, the other over on Branch Avenue by the McDonald's, and the other is up in Woonsocket. So they provide full comprehensive primary care for Medicare beneficiaries, including transportation to their offices for medical services. And they also have community rooms that offer free computer and Wi-Fi access should you need to get online and not have access yourself. They also have a lot of amazing programs that are open to the public, whether or not you are an Oak Street client or not. So I encourage you to check them out. They're pretty cool. I am also very grateful to United Health. They are also one of our sponsors. They provide wonderful Medicare benefits to the community members, including say $25 gift cards every month to the local community stores so that you can get the extra items that you might need. Great programs, lots of services. I encourage you to check out United Healthcare as well. If you or someone you love needs assisted living, we have the lovely Tamarisk Assisted Living. We're located in Warwick, right over by the mall. They really provide a home-like environment. You can call my friend Susan over there. You can tell her I sent you, and she will make sure that your loved one is treated just like her own family. It really is a nice facility. We could not do this magic of bringing this to you without the magic of D&B Media, who is behind the scenes today. Ben Barber is my technical wizard who makes this all come together and makes everything appear when it's supposed to and disappear when it's supposed to. And rielderinfo.com would not be possible without England Studio and their wonderful web design crew. They are really the brains behind putting together a website, because I can give you a lot of information, but designing a website is not one of my things that I can do. So that is all on England Studio. So I am super grateful that our sponsors and donors have allowed us to join you here today. So this week we are talking to Christina Hunsinger, the Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer with Rent Relief RI. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you. It's good to see you.
Yes, good to see you. So I recently heard about Rent Relief RI, and I knew I had to have you on because so many people are really facing significant difficulties in making their rent due to COVID. So can you tell everyone, what is Rent Relief RI?
Sure. Rent Relief RI is a program administered by Rhode Island Housing. It is funded by Treasury. We have $352 million to provide rental assistance and utility assistance to those who are impacted by COVID. There are some eligibility requirements, which I know we'll talk about soon, but that's what it is. And rentreliefri.com is the website that you can visit, and all of the information about the program, how to be eligible, and how to apply is there.
And so when you say the money is from Treasury, do you mean like the U.S. Treasury, part of the CARES Act money, or is this something that Rhode Island taxpayers are paying for?
No, well, we all pay for it eventually, right? But it's federal dollars through the Consolidated Appropriations Act that happened at the end of December, and then the ARPA, American Rescue Package program that was passed. So those dollars come from the federal government to the state of Rhode Island, and again, it's $352 million.
That sounds like a lot of money. Who is eligible for getting some of this money to help cover their rent? And is it just rent that you cover?
Sure. So it's rent, utilities. If you're relocating, there's security deposit assistance. It's back rent and forward-facing rent. And there's an internet stipend for folks to help them defray the cost of the internet and or to access the internet. So we cover rental and housing expenses for renters. So you need to be a renter. That's number one. There's a mortgage program coming soon at the end of the summer that will help out mortgage folks, but this program is for renters. And then 80% of area median income. So there's a chart on our webpage, but 80% of area median income is roughly $71,000, $72,000 for a family of four. So you need to be at that or below to qualify. You need to have experienced a hardship due to COVID or during COVID, and that counts as a loss of job, a loss of hours, a loss of income, or increased expenses because of the pandemic. So we talk about medical bills, we talk about utilities being increased because you spent more time at home because of lockdowns and school closures. Where you have kids that were home all the time, where they might have gotten free and reduced lunch at school, your food bill might have gone up. So we really work with every applicant where they are to kind of figure out what their qualifying hardship was. And then the third piece is to be at risk of housing instability or homelessness. And that can be demonstrated by a past due utility bill or owing past due rent, or really just attesting that you're struggling to make your rental payment going forward. So that's the basic outline of who's eligible. Again, rentreliefri.com has all that information, and it has a number for the call center who can talk you through, ask some questions of them, and they'll give you answers and help you apply.
So with this program, you have to be a renter, and I hear a lot of negative Nellies out there. Are these folks who really are struggling, or are these just folks who are like, I don't want to pay my rent, so I'm going to go to Disney instead?
Well, so for the most part, participants in this program are really struggling. And in most cases, we try to pay the landlord directly. So it would be hard to use these dollars to go to Disney. If a landlord won't cooperate and won't participate in the program, we can offer payment directly to the tenant. But our preference to make sure that the dollars go where they're supposed to, and to kind of prevent those negative Nellies from being able to feed that conversation, is that the landlord be paid directly. But lots of people were impacted by COVID. They were home for a long time. Businesses were closed, particularly in hospitality and retail sectors. And I think everybody knows that once you get behind on a bill, it's twice as hard to get back to where you were. So folks spent down their savings and now no longer have any room for error. So an unexpected visit to the walk-in or to the doctor with your child, or an unexpected flat tire can really set you back after having navigated this pandemic for so long.
Yeah, I would say just even going to the grocery store it's skyrocketing. Yep. With the recent heat waves, utility bills are going up because people have their ACs running, and completely justified, because if you don't have that AC running, it in some cases, particularly for our elders, it can cost you your life. So AC is not a luxury. So yeah, the utility bills are going up. Now, if you are, say, a multi-family household or multi-generational household, does everyone have to have been impacted by COVID in order to get this assistance? So say it's, mom, grandmom, and the three kids. Maybe the grandmom was able to stay with the kids, but the mom had our hours reduced at work?
So we look at it by household. When you
Okay.
apply, we ask you how many folks are in your household, and we ask you anybody over 18 and what their income is. And then if one person in the household was unemployed or lost income, those are the factors that we consider. So as long as you're income eligible for the size of your family, we work with you on the COVID impact to understand how you were impacted. I don't think there was anybody who wasn't impacted by COVID. I think everybody saw, things that they were not expecting. And so for folks who kind of live paycheck to paycheck or just on that bubble of making it, unexpected can really set you back.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Now, what does rent relief not do? Do you actually help people find housing?
So we don't do that. What we can do is if you are currently not housed or doubled up or need to leave the apartment that you're living in, we can approve you for a security deposit and 3 months forward-facing rent. We'll then give you a pre-approval letter that you can take with you while you look for an apartment and show to a landlord to demonstrate that you've got the resources to kind of make that rent payment going forward. But we do not, with this program, assist you in finding housing.
Okay, so they can't, we don't want to have people say flood your line saying, I'm looking for an apartment. Can you help me?
Oh, no. No, we can help you with the application. We can help you with the resources to pay for the apartment. But there are other folks out there that can help you find a place.
So if landlords wanted to participate in this program, can the landlords reach out to you to say, hey, I have a tenant who is really struggling and I don't want to have to, try to evict them or anything like that. I want to see if maybe I can connect my tenant with Rent Relief RI. Does it work that way too? Can the landlords reach out on behalf of their tenants?
Yeah, that's one of the great things about this program. So a landlord can apply or initiate an application, and a tenant can initiate an application. So if the landlord comes in and initiates the application, once they've given us their information and they hit the submit button, it automatically generates an email to the tenant, and they automatically go into the queue being contacted and outreach to help them fill out their application. So yes, landlords are encouraged to apply because rental assistance isn't really just all about the tenant. It also helps that landlord make their, pay their bills and keep that revenue coming in. So we view it as assistance for both landlords and tenants, and they are both able to apply on the same website. Just hit the same button. It'll ask you if you're a tenant or a landlord, and you go from there.
Okay. And then for folks who maybe are hearing about this for the first time, if they submit their application to maybe get some help, about how long does the application process take?
Yeah, so it's a complicated question, and I want to be really transparent about expectations. So we did have a technology problem in the beginning. We are a little backlogged. We're working to clear that by mid-July, maybe a little bit after. And our goal is to have it be 21 days from starting an application to a determination, eligibility determination. We're not there yet, but that's the goal. And the complicated piece about it is that a completed application is when we've got the landlord piece and the tenant piece completed. So it's not considered complete, and we can't evaluate it and determine eligibility until that happens. Like I said, we do outreach. So if we contact the landlord and they say, I don't want to participate, we immediately look at the tenant application and determine whether or not they're eligible and process it that way. If we can't get a hold of the landlord 3 times within 14 days, we do the same thing. We evaluate the tenant application on its own. So it depends on how quickly both pieces get completed. And again, as we clear out the backlog, that process will get faster.
And so when people are applying, it has to be related in some way to being impacted by COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the hardship piece is either due to the pandemic or during the pandemic. So if you worked in a restaurant and that restaurant closed, that's due to the pandemic. If you were home more and your utility usage went up because you were home more because your job was closed or schools were closed and you had to be home with the kids, that's due to the pandemic. Other financial hardships, so other loss of income or something, that occurred during the pandemic are also eligible. And we ask in the application for you to define your COVID hardship. And which bucket of money you get paid out of is a determination made on the back end. But pretty much almost everybody, if they talk about it and they think it through, was impacted due to COVID. Like I said, those unexpected expenses, if you're living, paycheck to paycheck, really kind of can throw you off your footing. And most of the unexpected expenses came due to the pandemic.
Yeah. And sadly, I've actually had an increase in calls from seniors who have received eviction notices.
Yeah.
And there are some added challenges that our older adults may have when looking for apartments.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the situations was the senior had actually lived in their apartment for many, many years, were paying their rent, and the landlord's child lost their job due to COVID. So the landlord said, you need to get out because I need to give my kid a place to live.
Right.
In that situation, the seniors are being impacted due to COVID, although it's not because they themselves are experiencing a COVID situation.
Sure.
Does that count?
It does. And that's one of those things that the outreach efforts from the call center and staff and partners unearths in those conversations. So when filling out the hardship, they were displaced due to COVID because their landlord needed that apartment for a family member. And that's not an uncommon story. That happened quite a bit during the pandemic. So we had quite a few folks come to us and say, I need help with a security deposit and forward-facing rent because I had to move out because of my landlord's family situation. So that's definitely due to COVID. That would not have happened without the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. And, when you think about, you had said, I think, $70,000 rough threshold for income for a family of four.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at take-home pay and the cost of childcare, that's not really a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
And many apartments are a couple $1,000s a month. Mm-hmm. So when, if you're not at that 70,000, if you're even lower than that, when you're looking at coming up with first month, last month, and security deposit, pulling $3,000 or $4,000 out of your ear becomes quite challenging.
Sure, and what there's no cap on the rent amount in this program, right? Some other states have caps on the amount of rent, but we don't have one here. So as long as you're looking for and finding a place that you can sustain once the program's over, mm-hmm. We can help you out with that. So I think that's good to know that there's not a cap.
When is the program expected to end?
Sure. So it's a little tricky, but we expect some form of this program to run through 2025. That's how long the dollars are available. This first pot of money needs to be used by the end of next September. So, but we do expect it to be here. But I want to be clear with folks. Don't wait. Don't wait till you have an eviction notice. Don't wait till you're walking into court to your eviction hearing. Don't wait till you get further behind. Come in and apply now. It does take some time. There are some document requirements, but call us. Don't let the fear of not having a document stand in your way. We work with every tenant, start where they're at, and we've got multiple ways to prove eligibility. So don't let that stop you. But come in now and apply. We want to help you before it gets too out of hand, and getting too far behind on your rent frays that relationship with your landlord. We want to keep that relationship a good one. And so if you come in and apply now, we contact the landlord. They know you're in process. They know that they're going to get paid. That tends to keep everybody a little calmer. So don't wait.
Absolutely. So Ben has brought up the actual website. Mm-hmm. And it looks like it's pretty easy to navigate.
Yeah.
Big old apply today right there in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, and there's FAQs there. It'll tell you what documents we prefer. But again, don't let the fear of not having a document stop you. Call the call center. They'll tell you a bunch of different ways you can meet each requirement. Mm-hmm. And when you have trouble, if you have trouble uploading documents, or you're not technically proficient like me, I'm not very skilled in that area, we've got partners on the ground that cover throughout the state that can help you do that.
Yep.
All of those partners will accept your documents via mail, scan them and upload them for you. We have what's called tenant assisters. They can help you actually fill out that application. So we are mindful that not everybody is technically savvy, and we're trying to make sure that there are ways to overcome those obstacles.
That's really important because, for example, I don't have a fax machine, and so often people are like, well, just fax it. I don't have a fax.
Right.
I have the technology to be able to scan, but I also understand I'm not like a lot of people when it comes to tech. I have some skill sets there and equipment access that most people don't have access to. Speaking of access, are the applications and are the people on the phone, is there help available in other languages other than English?
Yeah. So when you click the apply button, you get taken to a screen and it says register and stuff like that. And I wouldn't have you do that here. But once you get into once you register, there's a button that you push, and it's I think 174 different languages. So the application itself appears in different languages. The call center can field calls in almost any language. It's pretty easy to use Spanish and Portuguese. It might take a few more minutes to transfer you to somebody who speaks different languages than those. We are partners with the Center for Southeast Asians, and they handle a variety of languages. A lot of our on the ground partners work within their communities and are familiar with languages and dialects and things. So there's plenty of assistance available in your language of choice.
Okay, that's good. And do individuals need to show evidence of citizenship or legal right to be here? Can individuals who are undocumented, can they apply for help as well?
Yeah, we don't ask about status. It's not relevant to the program, and we're not required to, so we choose not to. One of the hurdles that folks run into when they're undocumented is sometimes they don't have a photo ID. Don't let that stop you. Call the call center, visit a partner. We will work with you on that.
So it sounds like there's a lot of different ways that people can apply for the program and, well, get help to apply to the program.
Yeah.
Now, Heidi Ross had a question. She said, for a lot of our population who can't or don't use the internet or have an email, how can landlords help the renter apply, or vice versa? Some landlords don't use the internet either.
Yeah, Heidi and I have spoken before, so she knows the answer to this. So we do require you have an email. And I understand that that's a challenge for some folks. That's why we have these partners. And if landlords are helping tenants or tenants are helping landlords, creating an email is easy. And the system's driven by emails, and all of the systems throughout the country are done that way. So we just try to minimize that as an obstacle. But again, the partners will take documents by mail. They can act as a tenant assister and fill that out for you. They can help you create an email. You can give them permission to be listed on your account so that when there's an update to the application, if you need to do something else, they are also notified as well. So we really did try to, with that understanding that some folks just don't have access and don't have the equipment, come up with ways to circumvent that and work around that obstacle.
So when it comes to the email, Heidi is an amazing advocate for many of our seniors in the community. When it comes to emails, will information be communicated back? So say 88-year-old Mrs. Jones goes through one of the assistants to get the application done, but then there's a need for an additional document. Will that need for that additional document, will that be sent via email, or would that actually be mailed to her so that she would know, oh, I need to go back to my helper to get that uploaded?
Right. So the system, again, is driven by email. So you're always notified via email if something else is needed. The call center also reach out to you via telephone. And if you're using a partner or an assister, and by the way, you can use your daughter, your brother, your neighbor as an assister. They're also able to log into your account, check to see what the status is, check to see what's needed. So there's a number of different ways to get that help. We haven't found that mail, actual snail mail, I guess they call it now, is that effective. People don't open their mail. So we mail to folks when we have to, when we don't have another way of reaching them, letting them know about the program, letting them know how to contact someone who will help them with creating an email and creating an account. But we communicate via email and telephone and through those partners.
Okay, so they can expect a phone call potentially, and that's not a scam. Because again, I always tell our older adults, really pay attention when you're answering the phone, that it's not like someone asking you for your name, date of birth, social security, Medicare number, all those other things. But if you're applying for this program, someone from the program may actually call.
They may actually call, and what you can, for people who are really hesitant, what you can tell them to do is to keep that number of the call center, on the refrigerator or by the phone. And if they're uncomfortable for any reason, thank the person and then call the call center back and tell them that you want to, you got a phone call from someone and you want to check up on the status of your application. And that way, that you're calling into the call center. But so keep that number available with you. And if for any reason you're uncomfortable when someone calls you, I would recommend ending that call and then calling them directly so that you are in control of who you're speaking to.
That's a good idea. And again, it's not a blanket help for any situation for people who need rent. It is when you're impacted specifically by COVID.
By COVID or during COVID. So if you're not sure, call the call center. There's no harm in asking questions and having them walk through your particular situation. If you're not sure and you've got the time, apply, and we'll walk through it with you when we get to your application and we're processing it. And we really want everybody who's eligible to be able to receive assistance through this program. And so it requires that folks take an action, and so we're really encouraging them to do that. We've got a lot of flexibility within this program, and we're trying to use it to help everybody who's eligible.
Awesome. And for the utility assistance through your program, what do you require for the utility assistance? Because I don't know that a lot of people realize that Rent Relief RI can help with the utilities.
Yeah. So again, up to 15 to 18 months of utility assistance in total, counting arrearages and forward facing. Most of the state is covered by grid, so I'm going to use them as an example. So I just need your account number. So we now have a partnership with Grid where we are able to see what the arrearage is and see what the eligible arrearage is, right? So we can help with back rent and back utilities from March 17th, the day they declared the emergency, 2020, forward. So we work with Grid and they let us know what the eligible arrearage is and we can pay it. So I used to need 12 months. If you owe 12 months, I used to need 12 months of back due bills. I just need your account number now.
Okay. And so Stephanie had a great question. She said, how long can renters and landlords expect to be waiting? I know of several who have been approved, but haven't seen any funds after 3 months. So what's the turnaround once they get the stamp of approval? I think you said like right now there was the tech glitch, so the application process is a little backed up, but that should be taken care of roughly by the end of the month. So once they get the approval, yes, you're good to go. How long before the landlord has the check in their hands? Yeah,
it varies. So we've got 7 to 10 people working to approve applications right now. They've got a few to go. And every day we add more to that pile. So it really does depend. Once you get approved, once you see your status change to approved in the application, if you're taking payment via ACH, it can take 10 business days to get your account. Once you see approved, it's a couple of days until the physical check gets sent out, if that's how you've chosen to receive your payment, and then kind of at the mercy of the mail.
And so that ACH payment, that can be directly to the landlord's account, correct?
Yeah, in the application for a landlord, we ask them if they want to provide their banking information, we verify it. And then once the application is approved, we transfer those dollars directly to their checking account. So, but they have a choice, ACH or paper check. Okay. And is there anything when you're applying that you can do to help yourself make this process go more quickly? So take a look at what's required. For applicants, there's some information, some documentation that we like to have. As a last resort, we can use a self-attestation, but If you've got the documentation all ready to go, filling out that application should be pretty easy. And then I just want to ask everybody to be patient. It is, we stood the program up really fast. Again, had a technology issue. We are working, like I said, with over 130 people on this program. We're getting there. As of today, we'll have $3.7 million, over 400 families helped. That's paid out. We've got another $2.6 million in the queue ready to approve. So that's even more families. And we're going to get through to the application. If you've got an urgent situation, so you're walking into court tomorrow, we have a partnership with the Center for Justice and Rhode Island Legal Services. They will help you in court. They will help make that case that you are in process, that you've done everything that you said you would do as part of the moratorium and are trying to receive assistance. And so we've got that as a really great partnership. But don't wait. Don't wait until it's on fire. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it now. Come in and do it now. Give us the time. Give yourself the time. And you'll feel better once it's done, right? You'll know it's underway. You'll be very anxious to know how fast it's going. A little patience will go a long way in that. But come in now and apply now.
Yeah. And Steph just had another question we touched on earlier. Does the payment go to the tenant or to the landlord directly? Because realistically, there's landlords out there that are really hurting themselves, but they also, thank God, have compassion and understand that so are their tenants. So everybody, I feel, is, for the most part, the landlords and tenants are really kind of hanging on by a very tenuous thread.
Yeah.
So does the check go to the landlord or to the tenant?
And it's been a long time, right? So a long time where some people can't pay their rent, and landlords rely on that money. So again, we prefer when the landlord participates, so that it's the landlord and tenant providing information, and the landlord in those instances would receive the check directly. If we've got a tenant that needs help and the landlord refuses to participate or will not respond to our inquiries, we will turn our focus to evaluating that application. And if it's approved, paying the tenant directly. But our preference is to pay the landlord, because there are additional protections for the tenant when we do that. The landlord agrees in a legal document to allow that person to stay in the unit for as long as they're eligible for assistance under this program. When we pay the tenant directly, the landlord can take the arrearage and then decide that they don't want to rent to you anymore. So there's protections for the tenant in paying the landlord directly. So we prefer that, but we can pay the tenant too.
That's good. And is it held against a tenant, say their rental records going forward, if they participate in this program? I know sometimes if there's an eviction on your record, it makes it much harder for you to find housing. Does participation in this program have any negative consequences like that? Or is it one of those things that's just simply done?
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't report to a credit bureau. We only in instances where there's an eviction proceeding notify the court that the landlord's been paid and that they can dismiss the case. So only in those instances do we notify anyone. So there's no downside. There's no impact to participating in the program other than being able to pay your rent.
This is, I think, one of the things that's so important for people right now, because so many people have been impacted by COVID in such a wide variety of ways. Like we were saying earlier, you've lost your job, your hours have been cut, your expenses have skyrocketed. If you have 3 teenagers who were doing homeschooling, I'm going to take a bet that your food bill went
alone. Just food alone.
Yes, your food bill just skyrocketed. And, for a lot of folks, there's not much wiggle room in the budget.
And for those people who were unfortunate enough to contract COVID and are still recovering, that is also, and some of them have not been able to return to work or have not been able to return to work full time. So that is also a financial hardship due to COVID that would make you eligible here. So,
yeah, and that is also a large number of people that we don't often talk about in the media, is the people who contracted COVID, did not die, but have had some really significant health outcomes that are really barriers to being successful in returning to work right now. So that's something that we haven't even touched on yet. But This has been absolutely amazing. I think that this is something that, more people need to know about. And it's,
You should hear us pretty, if you haven't heard us yet on the radio, you should soon. We're on English, Spanish, and Portuguese radio. We are going to go up with TV ads at the end of the month. We're working on a PSA. We're digital ads everywhere, and you should start to see us in the local print, local newspapers too. So we're really trying to up our game as far as paid advertising. So Rip the Buses, bus shelters, you'll see our ads there. And our partners really do a significant amount of outreach in really hard to reach communities and traditionally underserved communities. So we're really thankful for them too.
Yeah, and I could say even discharge planners at the hospitals and the rehab facilities, all the CAP agencies. I think everybody really needs to know about this program because so many Rhode Islanders are really hurting of all ages. I mean, my area of expertise are the seniors who are being impacted by this in so many different ways. But, this is something that's really important because we can't, as a society, allow a flood of homelessness.
Right.
If somebody is homeless or it's too late, they are, 14 days or less to being homeless, and they call you, where do you refer them to?
We refer them to the coordinated entry system. They have a hotline, so we send them over there, but they should still apply because if you're homeless, we can approve you for security deposit and 3 months forward facing rent and give you that letter. So as you work with a housing navigator and other partners on a temporary solution, you've got that letter that you can use to work with landlords to demonstrate that you'll be able to make the rent going forward.
Oh, that's awesome. So that can even help if you are homeless. So yeah, that I didn't know that. That's amazing. Because we are unfortunately seeing an explosion in homelessness as well. So what an amazing program. Can you just recap real quick what the guidelines are for those people who maybe tuned in a little late, what the guidelines are for applications and how they do that?
Sure. RentReliefRI.com. If you forget that, you can go to the Rhode Island Housing website. We've got links to it everywhere. 80% of area median income, if that doesn't meet or below. If that doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry about it. We ask some questions about your monthly income and we calculate it for you in the application. Have experienced a hardship due to COVID and are at risk of housing instability or homelessness, which is usually evidenced by a past due utility bill or owing past due rent. So those are the three, and a Rhode Island resident and a renter. But all of that's on the website. All of those questions get specifically asked in the application. Call center can walk you through, the questions that you need to answer to know whether or not you're eligible. It's a great program. We're very, very excited to be administering it, and we really do urge everyone to come in and apply.
And the phone number for that is the 1-855-608-8765. So if somebody can't get online, they can call.
Yeah.
And there are community partner organizations that can help with an email.
Yep. An email, filling out the application, helping you gather documents if you don't have access to them. So some of our partners are Tri-County CAP Agency, East Bay CAP, Crossroads, Family Service of Rhode Island, One Neighborhood Builders, Center for Southeast Asians, as I mentioned earlier. So we've got this great list of partners they're really good at doing this work and helping people out.
That is awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to come on today. I'm really glad that Elsa has left us alone.
Momentarily, right?
Didn't take out our power or our internet today. So very grateful for that. And I really hope that this program gets spread widely across the state so that, from Burrowville to Westerly to Tiverton, Little Compton to West Greenwich and everywhere in between, that people know that there's help available. This is not programs that are specific to the metro area. This is statewide, and it's income based on the geography of where you're at, not necessarily statewide. So that is really important for people to understand too. And I would say for the negative Nellies and or the curious, I happen to be the curious, you guys have an awesome data dashboard that clearly outlines who you're serving, how much money is going out, where it's going, who's getting it. That is refreshing to see. I think,
Transparency.
yeah, transparency is great. I think it is encouraging to understand who it is and where the money goes. That it's not just something that is appropriated millions of dollars that are going to top executives sitting in an office someplace, but it's actually money in the hands of the landlords. And I think that that's really important for people to understand too.
It really is designed to help people get back on their feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one saw it coming, and it hit people hard. And so even if you don't think that you're someone who usually needs assistance, you might still be eligible. And it's worth it because, getting back on your feet is hard to do. Once you're behind, once you've spent down your savings, once you're at that paycheck to paycheck moment, it's even harder to get ahead. So these dollars are really for everyone, in this bucket who are eligible to get back on their feet and to try to help people move on from those impacts.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you're saying the average income, $70,000 for a family of four, at that, you could be a single mom making $25-$30 an hour. Mm-hmm. You could be an RN. Basically, you could be highly educated in a really good career with, a family of four children and be eligible because it doesn't take much.
Well, so one of the examples that I think stood out to me was a flight attendant who mm-hmm. typically would not have been 80% of area median income or below. But the airline shut down, she wasn't working. And so based on her tax return from 2020, she qualifies. And so there's a number of different ways to look at the income to see if you qualify. And so someone who was really hard hit during 2020, who typically, wouldn't think of themselves as someone who is eligible for assistance is likely eligible.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's really important for people to know. And you can see on the dashboard where it goes. It's, seems to be an easy application process. It's not overly burdensome with documentation requirements. It's appropriately so, because you want to make sure that people are not scamming the system. I really encourage landlords out there to participate in this, to facilitate and grease the wheels for landlords. I think it's one of those things that it's really going to benefit you by helping your tenant.
Right. And most people don't want to evict their tenants. Lots of folks have been living there for a long time, and it's a good relationship and all of that. But money's a real barrier, and so this gets you over that hurdle. This gets you back on your feet. I do want to just mention one more time that at the end of the summer, early fall, Rhode Island Housing will be administering a program that will be designed for mortgage holders. So, landlords who live in multifamily property and are renting to tenants would be eligible. Single family mortgage holders would be eligible. So you just got to hang on a little bit. And that program will be coming. We're waiting for the go-ahead from the federal government to start it. But there'll be help for folks who are mortgage holders too. So
awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today, Christine. This is an amazing program that people really need to know about. I'm sure we'll be seeing the ads on the TV, the radio, the buses, everywhere. But, in the meantime, I'm hoping people are sharing this video with everybody they know, because this is super important.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Well, everybody, if you didn't hit the like button and the share button, it's not too late. Hit them now, and please share this out, because there are many folks who have been impacted by COVID who are at serious risk of losing their housing. And we as a society need to do what we can to support each other. And if it's just a matter of hitting the share button, share it out with the groups that you're a member of, your local city or town group. If you are a member of the Knitter Society of Facebook, what Fluffy Bunny Society, We Love Kittens, share it out there, because there are people who need this information and they need it now. There are folks who are really facing homelessness in a very short period of time, and Rent Relief RI can help them with that. And like Christine said, don't wait until, the fire is fully burning. Catch it. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So this has been a wonderful show. I'm glad that you have all joined me. I am looking forward to seeing all of you and more on August 5th, right here on Facebook for the second annual Calling All Veterans virtual conference. That's going to be 9 to 11. That's being done on a Thursday. August 5th is a Thursday. So you get to see me twice that week. And it is due to the generous donations of our sponsors, Oak Street Health, Cross Country Mortgage, the Care Concierge of New England, Morgan Health Center, Independent Benefit Solutions. We've got some great sponsors. We have amazing speakers who are going to be sharing resources for our military members and our veterans. We all know that our veterans are entitled to every ounce of help and assistance that is out there, every ounce of support for the work that they have given to us. So I look forward to seeing you all. In the meantime, I'll be back next week. Next week, we're going to have a little celebration. It's a surprise. Shh. I'll see you all next week. Have a great day.
If you liked this video, please follow us on social media and subscribe on YouTube. For more information, visit rielderinfo.com or call 401-585-0509. If you have any questions, email deb@rielderinfo.com.